My name is Lance Caver, and you are listening to the Movie Rage Show.
It's time for the movie raid, and tonight's victim is actor Lance Caver, that has played in numerous films, such as Beloved Beast, such as Friday the 13th Vengeance, and many, many others. Hello.
How you doing today?
It's blazingly hot, but it's better than 12-degree weather. Back to you, Bob.
Yes, I've been in a lot of different films. It's been an amazing run for the last 3 years. I've only been doing this for 3 years, so it's been a pretty crazy ride.
Yeah, I can imagine like how much of the workload could be like when you're just starting out like this. Starting out in terms of like there's so much to do in terms of the acting perspective things. I mean, it's not just the traveling and everything else, but getting hired to do a project and having to act a part out and having to be around other people like that. I mean, keep that kind of in check in a way that no matter how many new projects you do, do you still have the same feelings, or do you kind of readjust yourself?
You know, I have the same feelings because I really don't know how to feel about it. I'm so new at this. I'm a soldier. I'm a retired veteran. 6 years of my military service was in combat. So acting to me is a completely new area, and I'm still learning. I think it's completely learning curve beyond I could have ever imagined. I never thought myself ever doing something like this.
Do you do like mostly smaller parts, or do you prefer actually do like not exactly supporting roles, but at least minor roles to where you actually get some speaking lines, maybe a couple seconds or a minute or two for scene?
I'm amazed people are wanting to see me on camera. It doesn't matter whether I do a leading role, supportive role, or if they just want me to come in and say a line or two. That's fine. I was shocked and amazed that I was asked to be in Friday the 13th Vengeance, and when I was asked to be in it, I was thinking, okay, I'm probably going to be an extra, or maybe a bigger part of an extra. I had lines, and I wound up being in two scenes that had lines. It's been a lot of fun. It's been different. So to me, I'm just happy to having fun doing it.
Are you allowed to talk about some of them, about your role as well as the storyline?
I can talk about most of them. There's a few of them that we have NDAs, but I've actually asked about. I can touch on some of my characters, on my character, and a little bit of what it's about. I can't go in depth on some of them, but most of them I can talk about. Right now, we're working on. We're waiting for a green light on some funding and whatnot. But the biggest one that I'm going to be a part of is called Out of Time, the sci-fi adventure drama. That one's going to be probably the biggest budget movie I've ever been in so far. They're shooting for a rather large budget, so that's going to be a lot of fun. That one will be filming mostly out of Australia when it happens. That one's written by a gentleman by the name of Tony Spencer, who is an outstanding writer. The storyline is amazing. The only thing I can tell you about the storyline is, if you can remember some past shows and movies, if you go back, I would have to say it's a cross between Sliders, Quantum Leap, and Stargate, all rolled into one with its own kind of mix to it. I play a special operations sergeant, training sergeant that comes in just before I'm supposed to retire to train these guys on a one-way mission to fix something a bunch of scientists screwed up, which is like a normal thing. So if you think about those last 3 TV shows and movies that I just talked about, you can kind of use your imagination to what it's about. In Vengeance, I play the coroner, John Dooley. I essentially police up all the dead bodies that are left behind from murder and mayhem. And it's an amazing role. Each time I'm in it, I play opposite with Ray Hopper. We work together. That was a complete surprise to me that they wanted me in that and a part of that. So I was honored and thrilled to be a part of it. Finished up a movie called Burn It All. That was actually my first SAG production that I was a part of. I play a thug in that. We've taken up harvested organs and whatnot, underground harvesting operation. The lead of that, Elizabeth Cotter, and she basically kicks my ass and takes my gun and kills anybody that gets in her way. An incredible action adventure movie. I think everybody's going to like if you like action adventure. And basically a woman kicking ass. That one should be done and ready for release. We're hoping here probably in the next few months or towards the end of the year. Where I Need You Dead, they're going to be like, oh shit. That's going to crack them up. I'm hoping everybody get a kick out of that one. Director that, he's the writer-director Rocco Zevenbergen out of Portland, Oregon, wrote and directed that. He's hoping to have that one out by September, October, at least ready for distribution.
That's very cool, man. Very cool. So when it comes to the acting jobs, I mean, do you think it's more effective to learn how to get a better acting job than to just be concerned when to get the acting job?
I really don't. I don't know. I come about them, or I get asked if I would be interested in doing a role. I have submitted and put in for stuff that I've gotten in the past, but I really don't have a method to my madness other than just submit and forget when I find things that are posted where they need somebody of my age and demographics or whatever.
Yeah, and it's always difficult because when it comes to that portion of things, I mean, actors are always wanting to get the job, of course, and then they want to get that good role. But at the same time, like, if they're more concerned about getting the job and so forth, I mean, to me, I think that's going to affect their acting, because if you're so worried about that, then you're going to be worrying about how to get this role down in terms of the character, or how to attach your character to the story.
That's a good question. I ran into a guy during an audition. Me and my kids went to an audition, and this guy was so nervous. He's like, "Oh man, I really want this part." And I'm like, "Well, he asked me straight out. He goes, "Why don't you look nervous?" And I said, "Well, because I'm either what they want or I'm not." I said, "It has nothing to do with anything other than that. I either have the look and the mannerism that they want, or I don't. Submit and forget. You're going to get it or you're not." To me, that's basically it. Don't take anything personal. Don't get so emotionally wrapped up in something that you probably won't get. There's an A-lister who I was in conversation with. He's out in L.A. Won't mention his name, but we were talking about it for my kid, and he's like, he wouldn't put his kids in this because this is a nasty business of rejection, because they'll chew you up, spit you out, and treat you like shit on the way up and down. And he asked me the same question. He goes, "How do you go for a movie?" I says, "Well, I submit and forget. I don't care whether I get it or not, because I can't. I probably won't get it." And he's like, "You know what? You're right on." He's like, "If you just keep thinking that way, you're going to do good." He goes, "Because those that get emotionally wrapped up in this thing, they're going to feel like crap. They're going to feel rejected, because this is a business of a 99.9% rejection, because it's all a numbers game. You submit as many times as you can, anywhere from 100, 200, 300 submissions. You might get 3 or 4 or 5 callbacks. And out of those 3 or 5 callbacks that you get, you probably won't get any of them. You might get one. As long as it doesn't bother you for them not to call you back, or for them to tell you you're not what they're looking for, you're going to be fine."
I mean, it's simple, and it's to the point, and it works. I mean, if you apply that to yourself, I mean, again, nothing's guaranteed in life, man. I mean, there's always rewards out there, but I mean, you got to just keep trying until eventually you land that, and you do luck out. You really do. And that's the thing. I mean, if you're so worried about this stuff, that's what is really going to automatically fail before you even get that submission in.
Well, Steve Dash put it, from Vengeance, he put it perfectly. He said it's about 80% who you know and 20% luck and talent. And if you happen to get started in this business, I happen to get very, very fortunate and very lucky that I ran into a few people who knew the right people in the right circles to start working with. Now, I had been working with my kids in this industry for them, not for me, for about 2, almost 3 years. And I knew nothing. I was taking them to auditions, I was taking them to classes and readings, and I was helping them with it. And I had no interest in acting myself. And after about almost 3 years, I believe, I got a phone call saying, "Hey, we want you in our movie." And I'm like, "Which one do you want? You want the older one or the youngest one?" And they're like, "No, we want you." And I'm like, "I'm not an actor, and this is my kids' thing." And so it kind of was like, "Well," and they're like, "If you will please do this part, one of these parts that we have picked out, we'll be more than happy to put your kids in it." And so I did it, and it's gone from there. And people saw that, and I met some people with that. It was Morgan Casting that cast me in that one. And that one hasn't come out yet. That one's one that was the first movie I did, but it's never been released, and who knows? I don't know if it will be released. Filmed here in Olympia, Centralia, Chehalis, Hawaii, up north, a couple places up by Seattle, Buckley. But that was an incredible first-time experience for me. And after that, I just started getting asked to do things, and I, still trying to get my kids and stuff. Along with Jonathan Holbrook, I was trying to get my kids, a short role with him, and he wound up casting me as a thug to start with. And when he worked with me that one day on set, he's like, "Hey, I've got another role for you. I'm gonna expand your role. How do you think about being a bartender?" Sure. So, and then that just added another scene for me on that. The hits keep coming, and it's a roller coaster. I feel blessed and humbled at the same time. I don't know, some people have been working at this game for years and years and years, and they haven't gotten half of what I've done. Got friends of mine I grew up with in high school. They took drama. They were in movies or trying to be in movies. They're still doing drama. They're still taking classes at our age. I'm 47. There's friends of mine I went to high school with. I called them up and said, hey, you want to be an extra in a movie? And they're like, what do you know about movies? I'm like, well, don't you do movies? Well, yeah, I've been trying to get into a movie, but I've never been able to get into one. I says, well, this one has IMDb credit if you want to get into it, and we can probably get some lines for you. They're like, you're kidding me. You, the soldier, you've never been into this, because they remember me from high school. I took high school drama one time, and that was my last year of high school, and I failed it. My teacher found out I was being mobilized to the Middle East, Desert Storm, and I got my orders cut to basically go off to the Army a month and a half early before high school graduation. My teacher said, no, you need an education before you go to war and get killed. Here's your F. So I failed high school drama, believe it or not. I didn't know you could do that, but I made it possible, apparently.
Oh man, but it's amazing things. But what happens in life, though, like as you progress, especially with this profession. I mean, everybody tries so hard to get in there, but it all depends how you're going to do it. I mean, are you going to just get frustrated and say that, oh, I can't do this, I can't? There's no such thing as can't, man, because everybody and anybody can get what they want. You just have to really work at it. I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, and I'm not going to say it's going to take you a week, month, year. I mean, it all depends what you're going for. I mean, it's just a lot of hard work and effort. I mean, you'll get it eventually, man. It just takes the time.
It really does. It takes time, and they say that every business, it takes them 5 years before you start making anything. And I think that's with just about anything you really want to push hard for. It's not going to be an overnight success. Nothing. I don't think anything's an overnight success. And if it is, people take it for granted. I'm retired, so I don't have a full-time job other than raising my kids, getting them to and from school. My wife works. She teaches language courses or Arabic courses at the nearby base here. But so I've got the freedom most of the time to just drop and go and do a movie or go do a scene or a short film most any time. And a lot of times I can take my kids along with me, and they'll wind up getting inserted, here and there, and they love it. So it's turned into a family thing. So we have a good time doing it.
That was pretty cool. I mean, these seems like really old school values in a ongoing traditional world, and so to speak, especially in film. I mean, when you just do it if you have kids, you do it for your kids. If you just do it because you just want to do it and you don't care exactly what the outcome is, and you still land the role, I mean, that's kind of like living large on its own. You don't need the ongoing fame and all this money and stuff just to be satisfied with what you're doing.
Absolutely. One of the things that really pushed me, I guess for me to really push to do roles myself, was I had a film that I was trying to get my kids into, and I was still really pushing them forward with them in mind, because this is what they want, and they love doing it. They just eat the camera up. And they kept telling me this, well, I'm sorry, but one of our other actors' kids, he wants them in it. Actors' kids get precedence over anybody else. And that's when I was, okay, do you still want me to do that role? They're like, oh, you're interested in it still? And I'm like, if you'll put my kids in it, of course I'm interested in it. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, okay. So, it's been a ride, and really I do this for my kids, and they get a kick out of it. It's had its little sidebars. Let's take, for instance, Vengeance. My 3-year-old son, I got called into his school. He goes to preschool, and they called me in there, and they said, hey, we have to ask you a question. What's up with your son and Jason Voorhees? I'm like, oh, God. Because he's running around saying, Jason choke you? Jason stab you? Jason chop you? With other kids. And I'm like, oh, well, it's because we're in the new Friday the 13th Vengeance movie. And my kids and I were all in it. They're like, oh, my gosh, really? Holy crap. Well, we just wound up, everybody at the school now are fans and follow us because of that. So, and even going around the convention, we went to Crypticon, and all my kids had to have their own Jason masks, their own hockey masks. And when people started realizing that we were in the movie too, oh my gosh, everybody came out of the woodwork and wanted to get pictures with all the kids and everything as well. People were wondering how, we were so tight and close with all the, like, Mick Strom and Jason Brooks, C.J. Graham, and all of them. And it was like a family. We call ourselves the Vengeance family. And that project in particular, everybody was really, really close, and we had such a good time. It's kind of bittersweet to basically be ending the movie, but we're all really excited to see it come out here pretty soon too.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Well, go ahead and plug in any websites or any of your projects that we're going to be expecting either this year or the next year, or what we can expect right now.
Well, besides Beloved Beast, we're waiting anywhere from between now and the end of the year for that darn thing for theater release. That's going to come out in select theaters. Some of the small towns, I'm sure, like New York and LA and Chicago, got They Reach, series that we're working on, a TV series where I play Jack Richter, Capital Murder, written by David Goodman, and Jason White is also involved with that one as well. Ray Hopper and I are in that. He and I grew up as best friends, and I've always been his protector in this. And then I grew up, he winds up being my boss, and I wind up being like his bodyguard. So that one's going to be a really good one that's going to be coming out here pretty soon. We're still working on finishing it up. They Reach, I'm involved in, and my kids are also in They Reach, briefly. That one should be getting ready for release, I'm pretty sure, here hopefully soon. Not Without a Fight is another one where I'm going to be playing a Russian tanker general. That one is a book that has been written, has been turned into a screenplay. Jewish resistance fighters that survived the Holocaust. True story about a man by the name of Beaverstein, and his grandson wrote it. His name is Thomas Beavers. D.W. Duke and Thomas Beavers. That one's going to be a really good true-to-life story. Let's see what else. I Need You Dead, Vengeance, Burn It All, that are coming out, or that we're working on. But yeah, like I said, this whole adventure has been quite the roller coaster and a new experience for me.
Very cool, man. That is actor Lance Cavert.